Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger. I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, and this is the DomainSherpa Discussion. This is the show where we discuss industry and internet news, trends in the marketplace, and questions from the audience. We're joined by four industry veterans and thought leaders. From left to right, we have Adam Dicker, CEO of NicheWebsites.com, an internet marketing and web development firm, and DNForum.com, the largest domain name discussion forum. Mike Berkens, publisher of TheDomains.com, co-founder of the Right of the Dot consultancy, and founder of the domain marketplace MostWantedDomains.com. Paige Howe, founder and president of the domain marketplaces JoeDomains.com and DomainOutlet.com. And Rick Schwartz, the domain king, publisher of ricksblog.com, and co-founder of the Traffic Domain Industry Conference taking place at the end of May. Go to targetedtraffic.com to learn more and sign up now. Gentlemen, welcome to this week's show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
First up, let's talk new GTLDs. .club goes into general availability today, as of a few hours ago. Kevin Murphy over at DomainInsight.com reported that the .club domains CEO Colin Campbell told him about 2 hours after launch, quote, "We'll let the zone files speak for themselves, but we were well within the top 10 a few minutes after we opened up. Based on today's zone file data, that means that .club moved at least 15,000 names. I can't wait to see the numbers." Did any Sherpas on the panel pick up .clubs today? Nobody? Paige.
I have a bunch in land rush auctions, so I got
I also have a couple in auctions, but not that many.
Oh,
I got two.
You got two today.
I have 35 in auction. I'm not sure if the land rushes have the ones that didn't go into auction have gotten stuffed in accounts yet. I'm not sure. I'm still double checking on my side on that.
So I put in 2 orders, and I totally forgot about them. So I put in the pre-registration orders for 2 domains. They didn't go into, I guess I was the only one in the world that wanted them. Imagine that. And I got an email today that they transferred to my account. So I was pretty happy to see that.
Very good.
Yeah. So both Adam and Mike, you put in your pre-registrations. That means that there was multiple people that wanted it and it goes to auction. Is that what happened?
I'm just looking now to see if I actually got any, but it sounds like that's. I got a note from Sato on one of them. I guess Sato's running the auctions.
The land rush. So
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, the pre-registrations for general availability would have been sort of a race to the gates, and whoever got there first got it. But unless you maybe were at a registrar that's going to hold like an in-house auction on those, but I don't know about that. But if you've put in a land rush application, which gives you priority, before general availability, if you're the only one, you get it, and if not, you wind up in an auction. So that's what I'm in.
I'm in an auction for at least one of them that I know of.
And they're closed auctions, so
Yeah.
you had to get your bid in. What are you guys willing to say what domain names you're trying to get?
Sure, I will. It's webdesigners.club, and I think I'm in SEO.club as well.
Ooh, SEO.club.
Very good.
Which one's for you, Mike?
I have to go find my list actually, but I did publish like a week or so ago. There was a list of 12,000 domains that .club published that would be available in land rush, meaning that they weren't reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through and I found I think 450 that I kind of liked and wrote about them, and those were included in the 35 that I'm in.
Cool.
Sorry, I forgot one more. I'm also in Rick Schwartz's GTLD.club, but I think I'm the only member.
Listen, I just want to be, I've been on record saying that .club has been pretty decent because they've done a great job at marketing. They've shown how to use the domain name, and I said they're probably going to be the first one to break the 100,000 mark as far as registrations. So I've been on record for quite a while on that one. Doesn't mean I've registered any because I haven't, but at least that has the elements of what could make an extension have value. Don't know for what. We're a long way from that because you got to remember, it isn't up to anyone watching, basically, as far as we're domainers. It's the end users that eventually you're going to give it value or not have it value or embrace them or embrace them and reject them or just reject them outright. We don't know. That's really the whole key of all of this. Until then, it's all inside baseball.
Yeah, well, and I would say that some of us are domain investors, but we're also end users. Like, I could see Adam developing out SEO.club into something where there's an offering.
When I say end user, my definition of an end user of this magnitude is a much higher threshold. It's like an overstock.com or O.co or whatever it was, where they go and they spend millions of dollars to see if something works, and that's my definition. My threshold's a little bit higher than that. So, no offense to Adam.
Like Getty Images going with Photos.com and them saying we're going to go with Photography.club or something, and that's a major end user.
That was probably the biggest news item in a long time, because that completely validated a generic domain name. Here you take Getty Images. I mean, and they could have gone for images. They could have gone for Getty. They went for Photos.com. They decided they were going to be the guys in this century. So here, I love stories like this, because here's a company of last century that says, you know what, we led last century, and we're damn well going to lead this century too, and I love it. So I think it was a great story, and I'm going to be interested to follow it for a long time.
The club guys did tell me today that they're having an event in New York on May 22nd, and they're going to be announcing some end users that'll be taking some club addresses and launching websites or rebranding, including one involving a famous celebrity. So we'll see how the next couple of weeks roll out.
That's cool.
Hey, Mike Berkens, are you part of club, or what's your relationship?
Right of the Dot is as a consultant to .club. Don't own any part of .club, however.
Okay.
And we're a broker of some of the most premium domains. We think that they exist in the extension. Things like Country Club.
So where I put in like my top 300 names,
Yep.
and there was only 4 of them. They could either be because they're in Land Rush, because they're super duper premium, and then is there also this list that Sato's selling on their behalf, kind of a non-Land Rush, non-super premium, but we're selling them ourselves list? So are those all the places that would go before we got to hand registration?
Well, also the collision list.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, I remember that.
Painfully.
So you have the collision list, you have the reserved list of names, some of which Right of the Dot are selling. The vast majority, of course, are on CDU. So there's a bunch of names. There's over 6,000 names listed there. Yes, that's what you would have to go through, and then you'd have to clear a Land Rush if you didn't put a Land Rush application in, but you could have. You could have, paid whatever, $150 instead of the $15, and put the Land Rush in, and so guaranteed the name, if you will. And then it's, then you have to compete against anybody else who's in general availability trying to get the name, who happens just to get their first luck of the draw. So you have to clear all of those.
But if the name says it's not it's freely available to registration, but the registrar says you can't get it, is that because it's at Satu?
You're talking about like a Who Is record?
Yeah.
I don't think so. It should show reserved by the registry, I would think. What's the name? Oh, you don't want to say what the name is. We'll look at it, right?
Domain.club.
Oh, domain.club. I'm going to go look at the Who Is. Give me a minute. I know what the club Who Is. Let's take a look at that in a sec.
This segment brought to you by .club.
Well,
Seriously.
it's so hard to figure out. It's taken, or
Right.
if it's held, or if it's in the patio, but no one wants it. But it's just so hard to figure out,
Yeah.
You're not going to get domain.club page.
That's
I'm
what
pretty
you're
sure of
saying.
that.
Domain, I'm going to look it up.
Not
Yeah,
cool.
it says, Who Is record not available. This domain is not registered. So,
And not for page.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
and then I go to GoDaddy, for example, and type
I
in,
know it's not available for free reg, but it's just hard to. It's hard.
right,
it's
to
just-
figure out.
It's like going into a theater and there's a bunch of taken seats. The seats say taken, and you're like, well, is it paid for taken or kind of taken or going to be taken or who's taking it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it, so.
And how do you contact them if you want to maybe find out the price and negotiate the purchase?
I would say I'll let them know, but it seems like it's one of these like Frank had some issues on his first day with the Whois, and it's a new registry. It's obviously it's a standalone registry, so it's a Whois issue. I'm sure the name's reserved, however.
Yeah.
That particular.
Hey, Paige, what were the couple that you did grab today in general availability for hand registration?
So I got thedomain.club.
Thedomain.club. That's it? Just one?
And we ran a list of like 400 words, and there was like 4 available out of 400, and we picked one. And I think it might have been like flipping.club, or it might have been a real estate word or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we got one.
Cool. And did all you guys look at the whateverclub.com to see if that was registered or available for the ones that you were buying?
Not yet.
Not yet. Which one has more value? Adam, which one has more value today? SEOclub.com or SEO.club?
Well, it's hard to say because, I mean, the com would have more value today for sure, but I don't know if I would buy a domain name with SEOclub.com, and I don't think I don't know. I mean, definitely the com has more value today, though.
Yeah. But that may not be the case a year or two from now, especially if they get a lot of big companies coming on and Club takes off. It could. Yeah. It could happen. It's got a better chance than .rich. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's a typo and it's really .rick.
That would explain the low numbers.
All right. All right, I think we've talked about .club enough. I can't wait for the zone files to be free. Hey, Mike Berkens, are you have access to the zone files, don't you?
I do.
Are you gonna publish when those come out tomorrow morning?
Or tonight. Sometimes
tonight?
They get
so they come out tonight.
Maybe. I mean, they come out when they come out. There was a few days last week. It was just down. So
nothing came out. Yeah.
Right, nothing came out. So
all right.
So we'll certainly put the TLDs over 700,000 when they get updated.
Yeah. All right. Can't wait to see. .expert releases today to early access phase. Do you guys think that .expert will beat .guru? Which one do you like better?
I have a couple opinions on that. If it doesn't beat, first of all, I think .expert's a better domain extension than .guru, because I'd rather be an expert known as an expert in an industry than guru. But I also think that because of the time Guru came out as the only game in town, that's why it picked up a lot of the sales that it did. So it'll take Expert a bit of time to catch up to it, but it will. Right now, I was looking at some of the prices, and I can get Adam Dicker.expert for $12,000, and tomorrow it goes down to $3,000. So day 3 and day 4, it's going to be at around, some of them are going to be at $1,200. I'm probably going to buy some in that range and not take a chance on having it go to general availability at either $1,250 or $1,230 and $670, and then it goes down to $169 and then $61. So I'm going to buy them because I know they're going to be really popular on the ones that I want.
So when you buy it at $1,250, is that $1,250 every single year, or is that just the one-time fee?
No, it's just an early day 3 access fee.
What's the renewal rate on that? Do you know?
It varies by domain. So that's going to be my point about Expert. I like Expert a lot, but just playing around looking for some names for myself, they're really expensive. Really.
What was the renewal rate, Michael?
Huh?
What was the renewal rate on those?
I mean, they range. I mean, the lowest one I saw of any name I liked was 400.
Wow.
I mean, most of them
you really got to be a money expert to buy that.
Yeah, most of the ones I liked were like 800 and up. Football.expert is $5,500 a year.
Really?
Right. So you're talking about the EAP, you're talking about what it costs you to acquire the domain because you gain early access to it. Mm-hmm. So that's a one-time charge. But the renewal fees on these names are really high.
So if you're going to buy some of these, you better damn well have a development plan before you get in here, because $5,500 a year, you're not going to make that on parking.
Right, that just goes for forever. There's no end to that.
So, Mike, would you say that if they had a master list that they used for Guru, that in the month and a half since they've really updated the amount of words that are getting tagged with the premium fee from maybe 250 to maybe 2,000, or that's what you're seeing is some stuff that didn't always have a premium fee in the other TLDs, that there's a higher percentage with it now?
I don't know if I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't say that because I don't know. I haven't searched enough. I would say that of the ones I've searched, they seem to have gone up in price a lot. So I don't know if they've expanded the number of names that have a premium fee. They may have, but the premium
Where are
fee.
you seeing these yearly fees? Because you go to register them somewhere and you don't see those.
Yeah, the best place to look for the fee I found is GoDaddy, actually, because it's pretty clear. So if you go to GoDaddy.com, which I'm doing now with you, and you go type in, let's just use football expert, you'll see it will come up with the various pre-registrations, the various EAPs, and the cost for each EAP. But then there's a little pricing by where it says pre-registration. It says pricing details. If you just mouse over it, it's going to tell you what the renewal fee is. You see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is equal to the
Nine
registration
and nine,
fee.
They all vary, and they have nothing to do with necessarily the EAP.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So at Dynadot and Enom, you have to put them in the cart to find that out, which is more complex.
Good tips.
Right. Baseball expert is $1,500 a year, I guess.
Wow.
What about football? So obviously football is far more valuable than expert. I'm sure hockey.expert's free.
Hockey expert. I think that had a premium too. I looked at that. It was wasn't that cheap either. Yeah, it was also $1,500.
Huh.
All right, that's good. I feel better.
Yeah, they're pricey. So be careful. I mean,
All right, moving from .expert to .cities. Cities are gearing up. .vegas hits New York with a Times Square billboard. The New York City mayor touts their founders program, and Paul Stahura of Donuts.co posted to Facebook a wall advertisement, a physical wall advertisement in the London Underground that he spotted yesterday that read, "A new domain can change everything," and promoted www.dating.london by registrar 123-reg.co.uk, the largest registrar in the UK. Are we finally starting to see some traction in new GTLD advertising, Rick?
I wouldn't go that far yet. I mean, this is a lot of things come with great fanfare, and then we just have to see how it plays out. I mean, I've been on record from the get-go saying Geos at least had some kind of legs, and I can understand how they can have a place in the ecosystem. I don't know. I mean, look, half the questions you'll answer, it'll be, I don't know. It's all going to play out, and it isn't going to be in months, and it probably won't be in a year or two. It'll probably be 3, 5, or 10 years for it to fully play out, but I think we'll start getting an indication in maybe 2 or 3 years. And, got to remember, regardless of what happens, there's going to be so much inventory out there. I mean, and then the renewals, like we're talking $5,500 a year. So, wait till a few of those guys get hung up with that, maybe, or maybe they didn't even see it when they when they clicked it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to play out. It's just really early in a horse race, and that's what I've always said is a horse race. They're on the first. I mean, not even all the gates are open yet. Wait till all the 900 or 1,000 gates are open, and then let's have a conversation about it. See who the top 20 are.
All right. That sounds fair to me. I now that I see how all of the domain names are going out to the market, I realize now that I'll have no chance to likely get stripclubs.vegas or, anything that has a high value to a large number of people. Mike, you agree?
I'm sorry, I had to mute out for a second.
No worries. It seems like all of the really good domains are not within reach of regular quote-unquote domain name investors, that you either have to pony up a really high purchase price and renewal rate, or they're reserved by the registry and on a negotiation-only basis to purchase.
Is that a bad thing? Is that anything different than ever's been done? I mean, GoDaddy did it with .me. Everyone reserves their premiums and they auction them off to the highest bidder.
Not .com, they were free.
Yeah, but we're out of the Stone Ages with .coms when they were free, and now people have to pony up.
I mean, it's more of an, you can make different arguments what it means. I mean, for an some of it's maybe just sort of, like buying most products. I think people just haven't been used to doing it in the domain sector this way. But I mean, take SEO, because Adam mentioned that he applied for SEO.club. So he's going to be in a land rush auction. He's going to have to make a decision on how much he's willing to spend on it. But he knows the renewal is going to be about $15 a year. Or he can go, for example, and since we just mentioned .expert, go into one of the early phases and apply for SEO.expert. It's $800 a year to renew, ongoing, plus whatever EAP he gets in it. So then it becomes a business decision, I mean, what?
I agree with that 100%. You have to have planned out what it's not a lot of money to spend $10,000 on something. If you have an idea and a business that can generate $100,000, I mean, you have to have a plan before you go and you spend the money. Otherwise, it's like any other stock market gamble. You're just taking a chance. And if you're hoping for somebody to come buy it for you, you could be waiting a while. But if you have a business that you already set up and you can set up to run and be successful, that's where we're at in this industry right now, and that's where things are going, and it's all about building business now. It's not anymore about just spending $20 on a domain name, parking it, and hope somebody comes to you. If you have to spend $6,000 to get SEO expert, and then whatever it is a year, whatever Michael said, you better have a business plan.
$800.
$800. Most domainers won't want an $800 renewal, and if you do have that, it's going to be one of your highest renewals, and you're definitely going to have to concentrate on building it out as your number one priority, or you're being foolish by spending the money.
Yeah. All right, next up.
I guess the best thing to tell people is this isn't like Pokemon cards, where, oh my gosh, Pokemon cards became really popular, and if you go into Target and you see a pack, you should just buy it because you're the lucky one. You're lucky that you found them for the regular price. I don't think because you're simply able to buy a new TLD, you should say, wow, I'm lucky, I got to get one, and, it's I think we're just past that spot. I thought there was a little of that the first couple weeks of the Donuts rollout of the new TLDs, where there was some stuff that was kind of left there because it was all new. No one knew. Even the insiders didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I think there was some element of that, but I think a lot of that has been taken away in terms of, oh my gosh, there's a $100 bill lying there on the ground. I better pick it up. I think a lot of that has been taken out of the game.
And you pay attention and take a look at SEO Expert as an example, since we're talking about it. Guarantee it doesn't get too low on that list before somebody snaps it up. They'll be paying a premium for it.
But I wonder how many of them will know that's $800 a year. Because I know some people grab
because I didn't know.
The single letter ones, the earlier ones, and they got single letter .holdings or something, and they didn't realize it was $400 a year to renew it. So,
but that takes out the speculation part of it and puts it more into a business. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind spending $800 a year on SEO Expert or something that I was interested in, providing I'm going to build that out as a business. Because an SEO Expert can make a lot of money. If you can brand well and you can get in there, it's certainly worth $800 a year. But if you're just going to sit on it and you're speculating, no, it's not.
Can I ask a question? What happens to an extension like .expert when, let's say, it gets taken over by unqualified experts? So you understand, does it have a potential of getting a bad reputation and becoming laughable when, think about it. If it's going to be taken seriously, an expert has to own whatever it is that they're going to be an expert in, or they're going to either try to fool people. So if someone isn't qualified and they're trying to pawn themselves as an expert, and that becomes the standard in .expert, can that have a negative influence on others that maybe are legitimate? That's what
Definitely it can, and I think you're right. It definitely will be. Just because you have the money to buy domain expert doesn't mean you're a domain expert, or doesn't mean you're an SEO expert. It could mean you're just trying to launch a business falsely out there, and I think that 80% of them will be like that, because there's no way to qualify experts really.
But what happens, And I agree. So what happens when that when the public finds out, well, that 80% is a bag of smoke, and if you go to .expert, these are just charlatans looking to fool you, and then the 20% that are legitimate, do they have a chance? I mean, does it become a problem? Does it become like a .ru or some others? I just question it a little bit.
It could easily become a problem.
Well, I think the example that we've seen in the past, wasn't it .cc that offered them, or .info that offered them so cheap? They were like $1.50 a year that everybody,
for a while.
A lot of spammers were registering them and using them and then dropping them, right?
GoDaddy was giving them away free when you bought a com or something else.
Yeah, so a lot of them, became tainted in people's minds. But today, if you went to, some single keyword .info, or if you saw it pop up at the top of the search engine rankings, I wouldn't think twice about clicking on it.
Yeah, it has 6 million registrations today.
I think Rick's point, though, is a really good point. Info is different than expert. Expert is just one of those words, whereas like ninja necessarily isn't. Ninja could be, somebody who thinks they're, sort of expert-ish or somebody really knowledgeable in something, but it's not that type of word. Expert's a pretty, it's a statement. And if you're not a statement, yeah, I agree with it.
So to be honest with you, if I was the registry, I'd be more interested in which experts were getting the domain name and not which wallets were paying for the domain name. So, that's why, I look at things a little bit differently. I would be making sure that my domain names or my extension actually ended up in the hands of experts. But,
Well, and then you could actually go out and find the experts and offer them the domain names for a price. Then you've got a more professional extension than what you're going to see here, which is a bunch of schmucks grabbing the expert names that are not even rookies.
You mean like .pro?
No, I believe a lot of prostitutes were.
All right, next up.
Andy.pro.
After a deluge and then a drought of posts on ricksblog.com, Rick Schwartz posted an open letter written by Michael Costello of CCIN about the importance of protecting all domain name registrants. Rick, you and your Traffic Conference co-founder Howard New have pledged support to Michael's letter. So let me start with you. For those who haven't had a chance to read the letter, what's the crux of what you're trying to get across? What's the summary?
Well, I think Michael touches on a whole lot of different topics, and it's just a call to action. I think, look, domainers have a story to tell. I think a lot of domainers, for some reason, aren't very proud of what they do. I'm very proud of what I do. I mean, we're just doing what people did in other centuries when land was available. So we're in the footsteps of things that already exist, and we've discovered a lot of things as an industry. We've been taken advantage of for a lot of years, and I think I think every domain registrant, no matter if they own one domain or they're a domainer and own thousands of domains, have something at stake. I mean, this is a domain is a very powerful thing. It's I think the whole thing was about the freedom that it can give you from whatever, and the pursuit to really follow your dreams. Is one domain that any one person has can allow you to do that. And a guy that, if a UDRP hits the guy that has the one domain and that's his entire livelihood and he doesn't know, and he loses it, I mean, that's worse than any domainer losing a domain that has 1,000 domains or 100,000 domains. So there's a common thread that runs through everyone that owns a domain name, and things that commonly that we need to protect. I mean, look, they've been trying for years to take the URL bar out of the browsers and all, which they'll never be able to do. Some people call it direct navigation. I don't. I think it's destination. It's like in the real world, when we go out to a restaurant, we go to a destination. We don't want the yellow pages to get in the way and say, listen, we'll go this way or go that way, or let me try to divert you to another restaurant. We want to be unimpeded, and I think there's things that are happening that people need to be aware of that could curtail some of those freedoms that they enjoy now. And, people don't realize their freedoms until they're gone. Look, Putin just today said bloggers have to be registered in Russia. Guess what? Where's freedom of speech? Okay, they're right out the window. And there's a lot of things. You got governments now involved. You got registries, registrars, companies, corporates, lawyers. You have everything, and they're all starting to understand the value here. And like I said, whether you own one domain or many domains, we're all registrants, and we all have a dream, and we have to protect that dream from forces that are much bigger than us, that want to take what we have, whether it's one domain or 1,000 domains, they want to take it away, and they will, because they are finding out that what we discovered in the last 20 years, they're discovering now. They're discovering the power a domain name has. They're discovering all kinds of things, and they're also discovering that when someone like any of us can get on a soapbox and articulate something, that takes away power from a government, and they don't like that. So there's lots of things going on, and there's got to be enough common threads out there that we can agree on, something as a foundation to move it a little bit.
So is the idea that Michael wrote this letter and it's been revised by a few different people and published on your blog, and it's to get people motivated to fight for domain name registrant rights? Is that the idea?
Well, partly it's a call to action to say, look, what is important? We've been through this road. We have the vision. We should be able to project with the forces that are coming at us and have come at us with the reverse domain name hijacking. We should be able to project certain things that we say, geez, we have to protect ourselves from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's it. A few things, and I think that's what's happening. Like I said, we have a few different variations of the letter updated. We have a lot of thoughts. At Traffic, we're going to convene a group to discuss it, and hopefully as many attendees. That's why I published the letter, is I want the whole industry to see where it started, what ignited this conversation among a decent-sized group. And hopefully it will carry on, and I'm not going to be blogging. I mean, it's standing up there, and hopefully this discussion will keep on and will improve. We're a lot of smart people here. I mean, with our resources, we should be able to come together and figure something out that means something and say, hey, we stand for A, B, C, D, E, and F. End of story, and use that as a platform.
Gotcha. So the idea is that there are all these other forces that are out there that might be someday working in concert or individually to reduce our rights as domain name registrants. But isn't the fight, the good fight to prevent those things, isn't that the function of ICA, the Internet Commerce Association?
Well, listen, they can't fight everything, and this is something that's very, very specific and very specified. It's not broad. It needs to be very targeted. Like I said, very common to as many as possible. Okay, ICA is great for us, and Phil does a great job, and hopefully this is something that the ICA can work on, or the DNA, or whoever wants to take the ball. I think this is an important discussion that the industry could have had this conversation 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and especially when there was a lot more money around and we had probably a lot more influence and a lot more power. The same obstacles and the same things were in front of us. They were foreseeable, but now we're weaker, we make less money, and we're getting trampled on. I mean, where do you say, geez, this is important stuff? And I mean, your livelihoods can be at stake.
Will, do you anticipate that the registrars who arguably have the most to lose in this situation with all these outside forces coming in will be included and have a say in this battle cry, for lack of a better word?
Well, that's why it has to be as broad and common as possible, because you want the things that people can agree on. Do you want people to just be able to take your domain away in the middle of the night? Can we agree on that? I mean, there's certain things that we should be, do we agree on that a guy shouldn't be able to get a trademark 10 minutes ago and take your domain that you've had for 5 years and maybe built your own little family business on? I mean, there are things that we can agree on. Registrants, registrars, registries, and people beyond that. I mean, the coalition can be as broad as possible if what you craft is smart. I mean, that's what it is. It's about crafting what's smart and what maybe you'll strike a nerve. That's why I said, think about if you went to a restaurant tonight and you had forces out there trying to push you away from the restaurant that you're really trying to go to. Would you appreciate that? I think you'd get really upset at it after a while.
Well, it happens every day. It's called advertising. What kind of advertisements do I see as I'm going to the looking up in the phone book or going online to search? Or
it's different. Listen, I think search has gotten much worse over the last few years. When I go to Google and search something, first of all, they try to fool me. If I put in a company name, first of all, Google tries to fool me by having me click on other things, not that company. Number one, they fool me when it comes to trademark. Look, if Google wanted to stop trademark abuse, they can do it tomorrow morning like that. They don't want to do it because there's billions of dollars at stake. They're the ones paying the money. They're the ones making it profitable. They're the ones that should take responsibility. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to say it once in a while, because they're driving the train. They're the single biggest abuser in the world. Why can't we say that? Why shouldn't we say that? Go do a search for anything go do a search for a restaurant you want to go tonight and see all the diversions that are there trying to fool you. I don't think that's a good thing. And when they do that, that's where, look, then that's where Michael goes off on Facebook because they're all trying to, look, it's what they should do on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a little bit of an abuse and an overreach. And when there's an abuse and an overreach, we get to stand up and say, wait a second, this is wrong. It's just like when I go to any site on the internet, and I have an account with them, whether it be my bank or my registrar, and they have a new terms of service, and I'm locked out of my damn account until I click on the damn terms of service. That's a bunch of crap, okay? That's like having a gun put to your head. I mean, you cannot hold your account hostage while you agree to terms and services that you have no say about. At the end of the day, you have no say about. It's self-serving. Again, things that we should be able to agree on. Do you sit there with a lawyer for all day long with the terms of service that are 58 pages long? Are you kidding me? Give me a break. But listen, these are the things that, the abuses that are going on. There are a lot of abuses. There are a lot of conflicts of interest.
There are. Paige, what do you think? You're getting ready to talk. I can sense it.
Hey, I'm spot on. It's I just went to a WordPress camp over the weekend, and there's this whole big thing that you guys probably all know about in SEO land called schema now, where you tag stuff inside your site, and all it's really doing is letting Google now take the content from your site, and they can show it on their landing page, and they're doing it. So I think, if you've got an app and you get the benefit of selling it at Apple, great, but you're a sharecropper. You're renting space in Apple's store, and you're giving them rights over you. And the beauty of a domain name has always been, it's my unique plugin. I'm connected to the World Wide Web in a way that I can do commerce myself without asking anybody and paying $8 a year, and I'm in the game. And anyone's got the opportunity to get in the game and be in the game. And yes, it's great. I asked a question at the last conference. Do you play ball with Twitter? Do you play ball with Facebook? So yeah, do it. But boy, don't give them everything. You know what I mean? Own your own land, own your own property. And I think anything that's pushing that and talking about that and empowering that, I'm in favor of. So yeah, keep going, guys. Go do it. I'm in favor.
But the problem with, just as Rick's describing, is that there's all these different businesses. The registrar is a different business than the registry necessarily, and certainly have different interests than domain holders do. So next year looks likely there's going to be UDRP reform. I know there's domainers that want UDRP reform, but so do trademark holders. And today, the trademark, the IPC, which is basically a trademark organization, filed a comment with ICANN. Already, even though it wasn't on topic today, they already put in a comment that they want the AND requirement in a UDRP to take a name away, change to an OR. So people who are familiar with your UDRPs will know what that means right away. So that's a battle that registrars aren't going to help you with. Registries aren't going to help you with. They don't really care. It's not their business to decide who has rights to a domain name. They just start trying to sell names. So that's a registrant's problem. And as a registrant, the only place that we're going to go for representation at the moment is the SCA.
Yeah. All right. Well, I look forward to continuing the conversation at Traffic at the end of this month, Rick. Moving along, Namecheap receives a contract breach notice from ICANN. Kevin Murphy over at Domain Insight writes that Namecheap, who has over 3 million domains under management, may be the largest registrar to get the formal published breach notice from ICANN's compliance process. But he notes that while the company is accredited and must comply with the registrar accreditation agreement, it does almost all of its business as an eNom reseller. Mike, does it matter that they received this breach notice from ICANN? Will it affect their operations or customer sentiment if they actually let their accreditation, I guess, be canceled?
Yeah, I don't know about customer sentiment, but I don't think as far as an operational issue, I don't think it's going to affect them because they don't have any. I think they only have a few hundred registrations under their actual tags, so the rest are all as a reseller. But at some point, if they want to, break away from eNom, I don't know if they do or don't, and get their own credits or go on their own creds, it could hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else find that surprising that they'd let it go rather than cancel it? They just let it go and get this breach notice?
We have time to cure, right?
They do have time to cure. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you just let a problem go until you get the notice and then you fix it. I'm not sure ICANN has shown themselves to have the power of, oh my gosh, we've wrecked our reputation in the marketplace because we got a letter. You get a ticket and you fix it. So, I mean, obviously, if you don't go to court and you don't show up and the fines get worse and all that stuff, but they got a ticket.
All right, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Namecheap. Next up, Page House submitted an interesting situation that I think many domain name investors have experienced or may experience someday. Here's the summary page. Let me give it out, and you correct me if there's anything that needs to be fine-tuned. You own a brandable domain name. You've owned it since 2007. A trademark application is filed recently using that word for the domain name that you have registered. While there's no guarantee of anything, generally a domain name investor is in the clear because there was no bad faith at the time of registration and what Mike was just talking about and going forward. So you need to prove both things in order to lose a UDRP. And clearly you had no bad faith when you purchased it in 2007 because this trademark wasn't even in existence back then. So what does Page do? Does he do nothing? Does he file his own trademark application with a prior use date? Does he file a protest letter to the USPTO against this trademark application? Or something else? Was that a good, fair summary page?
Yeah, and right. I think to the extent that it applies to a lot of us, I wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, Adam, let's start with you. Has this situation happened with you before? You've got a lot of domain names. You do a lot of development. You can't get to everything all at once. Have you owned a brandable that's been filed as a trademark in the past?
I would say probably. I mean, I can't think of anything specific. Paige, question to you.
Yeah.
Is it a premium domain name or just a domain name you've had for a while?
Just the domain name I've had for a while.
Yeah, see, that changes things a little bit. I mean, if it was a premium domain name and it had some value and it was a site or you were doing something with it, like it was Joe Domains, I would challenge the trademark application. But I wouldn't spend the money if it's just a domain name that you happen to have.
Right, I should have clarified that. So is it right now unresolving or parked, Page?
Parked.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about it?
So a guy wants to buy it, and what I'm trying to think of is what should I do to be able to protect me being able to resell this name You know what I mean? So that the new buyer doesn't have to sit there and so I have a sellable asset instead of saying, well, I know no one can take it away from me, but I'd also like to be able to tell someone that there's some common law rights dating back to when I first started parking it.
Okay, so I just remembered a situation where I did have this happen. So I owned Megacity.com, and a guy approached me. He was building a game in Brazil, and he had a trademark that he just registered in the U.S. for Megacity and in Brazil, and he told me he was going to sue me, and I knew my domain preceded his trademark, so I said, go sue him, and I hung up with him. Then he called me back and gave me like a $2,000 offer, and I said, no, I'm not interested. Obviously, you can't afford to buy this domain. And this went on and on for a while, and I ended up selling it to him for $85,000. So just because somebody has registered a trademark today and you've had the domain name for 10 years ago, the advice I would give you, and Michael Berkens can correct this, is even with that case, I would steer away from similar products or services that the guy has, so he really doesn't have much of a leg to stand on if you do have to fight it. But other than that, I wouldn't worry about it until he takes action, because you don't want to spend money unless you have to. I just sold today was tablelist.com for a customer who I brokered it for, and there's an application on Android and on iPhone called Table List that's growing and growing and growing. And the guy was the same thing. I said, look, this guy had this domain name for like 8 years before you, so bugger off. You can buy it or you can just screw off. And I said it nicer than that, but the bottom line is he did pay for it, and he paid for it today. So, I mean, those are two cases where you have to understand that, yeah, you're in the right, but the problem is you can be dead in the right, meaning if you don't have money to fight these guys, and these guys really want to fight it, you're going to lose anyway.
No, it's not the trademark owner that wants to buy it. It's someone else that wants to buy it.
Well, if the price is right, sell it. I mean, you don't have to disclose the trademark since it was afterwards.
No, they found out about the trademark. So I'm trying to tell that guy, what can he really do if he buys this? And it got me thinking, do I want to establish common law rights in all my words that I've done domain names for, so that at least yeah.
Is he going to use it in a similar fashion as their trademark?
Maybe.
Well, then he does have a problem.
Yeah.
And I would explicitly explain to him, since he's talked about the trademark and you know about it now from him, I would say, if I were you, you can buy the domain name, but I wouldn't use it for this, and then maybe do up a one-page legal agreement with Berkens or Barry Hill or somebody else that says, look, you're telling him in advance, full disclosure, that he could have a problem, even though the domain was registered, but he certainly shouldn't target their trademark.
Gotcha. But if I file a trademark, even if I file after the other guy, since my use is first, and we both get it, I win. So the question is, can a park page be use, and can I have common law rights dating back to 2007? What do you think, Mike?
That you need to speak to Berkens or another.
And I'm not looking for specific legal advice, just general. It's how do we protect our common law rights in the fact that we did think of a word because we registered the domain for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so so I did have a situation where I went ahead and paid an attorney to file an objection to a trademark on a domain that was that I had and bought for investment, but I thought was sort of six-figure-ish kind of name. So it was a trademark that was filed by Sony for move.me, actually, which was a name I owned. Like they have make.believe. So, they have unrelated to domain names, but, they like to put periods in between words. So they came out with a product, move.me, and they started advertising it. And so there is a process to object to a trademark filing. Of course, you have to do it on a timely basis. You obviously need an attorney to do it. And Sony wound up dropping the trademark in the U.S., and we wound up selling the name. So, and it wasn't, an incredibly expensive process. I mean, it was a few $1,000 kind of process.
Yeah, but on a name that doesn't have value, that's an expensive process for your average domainer.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Now, I think, when you talk about common law rights, I mean, you're going back against just really to basic UDRPs, which sort of recognizes, first registration and a common law right, but they don't call it a common law right. But they do recognize first registrations. Prior registrations, assuming that the current holder, got it, prior to the trademark, not what necessarily how far back the original registration goes. So if there's an original registration and 6 transfers, and you acquired it in 2013, first got registered in 1993, you don't get to use 1993 date, most likely. you get to use, and again, it depends on use too. So if you park it or you put it up on for sale, lander, then you're subjecting yourself to a lot more risk than if you actually put the developed site behind it. So that's always, I think, going to be the case. And as the UDRP reform, goes on next year, and there's going to be a lot of trademark attorneys, counsels, and companies that think that UDRP is unfair to them, and they feel like that cyber squatters, domain investors are overly protected, and they're going to try to take protections away. So it's going to be something that we're all going to have to watch out for. And again, I think as far as an organized forum, or even just a person that represents domain holders at ICANN, where these discussions get held and decisions get made, is basically Phil from the ICA. Barry Hill is certainly there to represent his clients, and in doing so, he's representing all of us. But he doesn't represent, he can't say I represent 500 domain owners, or he can only represent who he can represent. So other than that, we're pretty much on our own, and there's 100 and some odd councils for trademark holders at ICANN in there at the same time. So that's the situation.
All right, I just want to point out that on the recording, Mike Berkens is going in and out, and it was a little bit difficult to understand. Paige, did you hear that also? Was it difficult for you to hear Mike? His video looks like it's breaking up a little bit.
Well, I did want to say that I brought it up to be able to expand it to a more generic topic, so I appreciate Mike's comments, because I think he was speaking toward everyone's position, on what can be done, and I appreciate his his perspective, and I think I know that it can't be taken from me,
right, and
that I'm still trying to maintain it as a sellable asset, and so it's, I'm not going to tell you the exact name, but it's one of my brandable specials. It's an Osity or a Vil or a Ology or whatever. But I just think for me, it made me say, well, do I want to take my top 100 and at least put on my page that there's a trademark? Because who knows if the trademark examiner even sits there and looks for stuff, you know what I mean? But if they do, then I want to be able to say, hey, this guy wasn't the first one to ever think of it. He may be the first one to file on it, you know what I mean? But the idea is, big deal that you filed on it, you can't come and take mine, but then the question becomes, can I maintain it as something I can sell to someone else? So that's what I was trying to extend to, is a way on a blanket basis to protect what's left of the dot against people coming along later and saying, no, I was the first one to think about it.
Right.
And I'm like, that's impossible, because I typed it in and registered the domain name.
Right, and it becomes murky because some UDRP panelists will claim that monetizing a domain name without any content through a parking platform is not a business use. Some of them will say that. Others will say it is a business use. And if that's the case, which Google agrees, because Google is trying to remove parked pages from their search engine listings, and if a USPTO examiner goes and types in that word and doesn't see your website listed for that word, then they may say, well, it's not in use, and so I'm going to allow the trademark to proceed.
Right. No, but I think there's a different standard for used in commerce for trademark versus a fair business use for UDRP. The trademark just says, do you use it in interstate commerce? And I would try to establish that having a parked page may meet a lower standard. Did I use it in interstate commerce? Yes, I've been using it in interstate commerce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That would be interesting. There's nothing that says you can't submit a letter yourself, Paige. I'm not sure you need to go through.
Well, I did miss it by 30 days. So Mike Berkens' thing is, I looked on there under the USPTO, it says protest thing, and it says you must file a protest within 30 days. So I think I'm looking at saying, well, do I want to put some type of, domain tools or, legal watch thing on my top 50 names?
Right.
Just to do that, just to be able to sit there. And again, I think we can shift what Mike and Adam are talking about. I think of some of the names that Mike Berkens has sold recently, like UPay, that would be the type of name where you'd say, hey, I want to know if someone's going to file a trademark on my top 50 brandables, and at least be able to jump in the process. And that's what I'm thinking of starting to maybe do.
Yeah.
I think Paige raised some good points, Michael. I would suggest you get with the attorneys in the space and do a show and run some of the stuff by them and see what they have to say.
Hey, is anybody else having trouble hearing Mike Berkens, or is it just my side? You are. Mike, you're coming in a little chopped up. Is there
Sounds like Papa Smurf.
Yeah, is there something stealing bandwidth on your side? You gotta downloading a movie at the same time, iTunes kicking on, anything like that?
Well, don't accuse him of downloading movies.
Oh, now you made him leave. Look at that.
Hey, this is the only window I have on.
This is live. Don't accuse him of crime. You want to admit to that? No, I'm just buying Coke. It's PayPal.
All right, let's get Mike back on here. Boy, I pissed him off there, didn't I?
Are you downloading illegal music or movies?
No, I didn't say illegal. You could be legally downloading something.
What, home movies?
All right. Well, it is a great question, Paige. I met a domain investor at a prior traffic conference, and I'm still kicking myself because he either didn't give me a card or I didn't write down his name, but he has filed trademarks on his top 100 domain names, and I wanted to do a story on that. And so if
That's going to be quite pricey, though.
It is, but if you have some valuable domain names, I'm not saying that Paige should do it on all of his vills and ologies, but
I don't know. Listen, I trademarked a bunch of my domain names early on, and I found out they were all worthless trademarks. So let's start there, because you're really not shipping anything or doing really business in something. I mean, the requirement's a little bit higher than just owning the domain name. And when you go, and even if you get the mark, when you go to defend it, you find out how weak it really is. I've lost with the trademark.
You've lost a UDRP with a trademark filed with the USPTO.
UDRP, but I'm just saying the trademark. I've had one on eReal Estate. They wouldn't even renew my trademark, and that's a legitimate full-out site. They wouldn't even renew it after 10 years.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Only trademark I have is DN Forum. That's it.
And most of them are supplemental marks that you can get, and they're just very weak. At the end of the day,
the supplementals are weak. It's not like the primary registry, but I've never heard of a UDRP case lost where the domain name investor had a trademark on the primary registry, and regardless of any other circumstances.
Well, now you have.
No. Rick was saying that wasn't the case.
UDRP, but I'm just saying when I went up against someone on something with the supplemental mark, it had no value. Listen, many attorneys have tried to convince me that I should trademark 5,000 domains that would cost me close to $1 million or $750,000 or whatever it is, and I'm just telling you, it would have been worthless and a waste of my time and money to do it. Because at the end of the day, it just makes you feel good, and you got nothing, because anyone that challenges it will blow you from here to kingdom come, because unless you have a full-out site, with users, I mean a business, a true business, a little bit different than a website, a true business.
Makes sense.
I was trying to say that. Can you hear me now, guys? I'm sorry.
No, you're still...
Right.
Still breaking up. Hey, how about you try turning off your video only, Mike, and we just and then we look at the picture of you, see if that helps out with getting your voice clear. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just trying that this is definitely a topic worthy of.
Sorry, Mike. It's still coming out a little unclear.
All right.
Time to get the gong out and get rid of it.
All right, Mike. I want to hear that. We're gonna bring that topic back up on the next show. All right, we're hitting the witching hour right now. We're going to go talk about anything you want to promote, and then we're going to finish up the show. Adam Dicker, is there anything you want to promote this week?
Well, I'm going to be starting a new DNF college based on exactly what we're doing at Traffic, taking out domains and building them into businesses and lead generation sites and partnering up with people. I'm not going to start that till after our presentation Traffic, but it's going to start after that. And then the other thing is I think people should take heed to what Rick, Paige, and Mike said about the letter. I think that Traffic is a great venue where you've got a lot of the key players there, and it gives everybody a chance to get their opinion in. So if you don't get your opinion at Traffic, you have nobody to blame but yourself. So get to Traffic, get your opinion, and be part of this process.
Good point. Mike, if we can hear you, is there anything you want to promote? Mike? Sorry, Mike. Paige Howe.
Still doing .tvs at the outlet and dnstore.tv. So go to the domain name outlet or dnstore.tv, and we're still selling TVs.
All right. And Rick Schwartz.
Just at getitfido.com is the new lead sponsor for traffic, and they're coming to take away the business from the other PPC companies. So that's what they're coming to town to do. Actually, they're from Las Vegas. So
I'm sorry, who is it, Rick?
Getitfido.com.
Okay, cool.
Get it, Fido?
Get it, Fido. I haven't heard of them. I'm looking forward to learning more.
The new leading sponsor, and everyone else that's had that position has gone on to great things in life. So they're coming to town to take everyone's business away.
Nice. I look forward to learning more.
We need a way to make more money, so I'm really excited that they're coming at us.
If you have any questions from today's show that you'd like answered next week, post them in the comments below this video. Adam Dicker, Mike Berkens, Paige Howe, and Rick Schwartz, thanks for coming on the Domain Sherpa discussion, sharing your insights and expertise, and thanks for continuing to be Domain Sherpas for others. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Michael.